Something I don't always talk about is my hair, this stuff from my head. And surprisingly, I wasn't, like, at the very beginning, I wasn't someone that kind of liked dreads. I was someone that actually frowned upon people with dreads because I associated dreadlocks with lunacy and, madness. Because, like, on the streets, that's what you see. But here we are. Yeah. At the very beginning, I've always been someone that liked hair. Even when I made the transition into dreadlocks, it wasn't like a decision that I made that, okay, now let me grow them, but it was just something that came graduate. Of course, at home, my parents were not the happiest, especially my mother. She wasn't very happy about me growing hair. At some point, I remember there was a funeral we went for, and I found everyone seated right in the middle of those vidalas, right in the middle of the vidalas, and I walked all the way from the entrance up to where she was seated, and she told me, "Hey man, you didn't carry a hat." In my head, I'm like, okay, like, are you ashamed of me because of the fact that I have hair or not? But I kind of understood where she came from, because in her background, like, hair wasn't a thing, really. It was something that only women had. And for me, being her son and growing hair, it was really new to her, so I totally understood. But eventually, they kind of understood why I was the kind of person I was, why I was growing the hair, and it wasn't that big of a problem. I think mostly because me and my parents have a very good relationship. We, talk about pretty much anything, and they know the kind of person I am, the kind of son they brought up. And when it comes to my siblings, my sister actually grows dreads now. She's the hair business she does here. She's actually the one that fixes mine. Hair has been so much, has been part of my identity. It has kind of shaped the person I am, how I present myself, how I dress. I used to have a lot of graphic tees. I used to wear a lot of graphic tees and damaged jeans and what. But when I started growing hair, I figured, man, you can't, do everything that's on the other side. So I don't really wear graphic tees anymore, which is a very good thing. And then damaged jeans, those I don't wear, because in my head, I don't want it to be too obvious that, because already there's a stereotype that people with hair act a certain way. So I don't want to overly be that kind of person to, how would you call it? To prove that people with hair are, I don't know that you understand, but yeah, that's it. Yeah. So challenges that come with hair have been, I think the biggest one had been in church. I've ministered in church for a very long time. I've served in church for I think since 2006. At first it was an Anglican church, and then I moved to Pentecostal church. And for a long time, even when I started growing it, there was a bit of a stereotype with that. And I don't know how hair kind of prevents someone from being godly or Christian or religious, but that's just perception of the institution of the church. And of course, I'm not like that rebellious to go in front of my church leaders and be like, hey, you guys, you don't need to marginalize and stuff. But that's what they believe, that's what they see, so you can't really change how people think. But for parents that have kids that are very interested in growing their hair and growing dreads, hair doesn't define who people are, And I always have this kind of analogy where I say it's hard for someone to be a criminal and grow hair at the same time. Because, if someone goes to jail, they definitely cut off their hair. But if there's an individual that has grown hair for more than 5 years and it's still on their head, it means they're pretty stand-up people. You know, they're not people that indulge in, bad activities and stuff. And if you look at our society, actually, the people that steal the biggest amounts of money are all those ones you see paraded on TV, people involved in scandals. None of them has hair. None of them has hair. So what is the problem? Yeah.